Hello friends! I thought that this week and probably next week I would kill two birds with one stone and show off some of the patterns that I've been making for the craft fair that I'm going to in 2 weeks. It'll be my first craft fair ever and I'm really excited about it, and I've been working my hands to the bone to have inventory. The first thing I want to show you this week is this little guy. This is a little baby whale. I learned of a baby whale, a couple different patterns there were on the internet. There were some free patterns very similar to this, but I've changed a couple stitches to make it cuter. I did this tail myself, and I changed the way that I do the bottom part so that I just like the way it looks better. He's so cute. I love him so much. He's super easy to make. He's quick, under an hour. If you're really fast, under half an hour. I'm not that fast. But what you will need for him is 3 different color yarn. One for the body, one for the underside, and one for the blush. I'm going to use purple, this light purple, and white. I almost always use white for the bottom part. And these are a worsted weight yarn. You can use whatever weight you want, but you'll want to change your hook size and you will get a different sized product. And then a blush color, and I'm going to use pink. You are going to want 8mm eyes. You can use other ones. It does not look as good. I've tried 10mm and 6, and I didn't like the way they looked. 8mm looks the best with this size. I also use a 4mm crochet hook. You can use a 3.5. It will be a slightly smaller product. Again, I've tried different sizes. I like the way the 4mm looks better, and I don't usually use the 4mm for other things. I do for the whale. You'll need scissors, as always, and darning needles. As always, darning needles are just needles that don't have very sharp tips and have bigger eyes so that you can get your big fat yarns into them. You will also need polyfill or something to stuff it with, fabric or whatever, but polyfill works the best. And if you're fancy like me, something to hold your yarn and help with your tension. I use this instead of, some people use yarn bowls and other things, but because of the way that I wind my yarn when I get it, this just works the best for me. And also, I love wooden things. I think, especially this oaky color, I just think they're natural and beautiful, and I love them. And that is all you're going to need to follow along with this. So I'll see you in just a minute while we do it. Okay. Before we begin, I'm just going to go ahead and point out the elephant in the room. Yes, I am wearing a Snuggie. And yes, I do know that they are a hideous garment. But they are so warm, and I am so cold, and my hands don't work properly when I'm cold. So, Snuggie it is, guys. As per usual, we're going to start with the magic ring. I do my magic rings like this. So here we're wrapping this around, and then we make an X. I use my pinky to hold on. You go under this one, grab that one, and then grab that back one again, and pull that back one through that loop you just made. Bam, magic ring. Into the magic ring, we're going to put 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going a little bit slowly so that it's easier to follow along, because those first stitches into the magic ring are harder than regular stitches. Once you've got your 6, I like to pull mine tight right away. Some people like to wait until they've done a couple more stitches. I like to pull them tight. Second row is going to be 6 increase stitches. An increase stitch is when you do a single crochet twice into a single crochet. So here's our first one. You go through these 2 top, sorry, I'm using really low quality yarn. you grab that, like that. And then the increase, you go back in, and that puts us at 2. We're going to want to have 12 all the way around. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice I'm going back through on the even numbers on that same one. So 7, back through again for 8. Sorry if you can hear my mom talking, she's working. 9, 10, and 11. Oops. Be careful with this lower quality yarn. I don't know if you can see this, but I accidentally didn't get the entire piece of yarn. I didn't go through the entire piece of yarn. I kind of, there we go, that's better. That's 11 and 12. And that's going to be 2 rows done. I'm going to pull this tight. If you've still got a little gap in where your magic ring was, you can pull on this again. Next, we're going to do single crochet, increase 1, and we're going to do that 6 times. So you should have 18 stitches in this row. So 1, 2, and then as soon as we do this 2, we're going to go back through the same one for the increase stitch at 3, 4, 5, and back through for 6, 7, back through for 8 in the next one, and then back through for 9, 10, oops, didn't even get anything, 10, 11, and back through for 12, 13, 14, and back through for 15, 16, 17, and back through for 18. Alright, we should be at 18 now. This is going to be our final increase row here. For this row, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase, and we're going to do that 6 times. So we should have 24 stitches at the end of this row. So 1, like this, 2, 3, back through for 4, and rinse and repeat. 5, 6, 7, oops, notice what I did here. We're going to redo that 7. Sometimes with this lower quality yarn, or just yarn in general, you will miss part of the yarn that you should be getting, like the yarn will split. So we're going to go back under that, because I don't want that there. It's not a big deal if you do it, you know, it's just there'll be a minor blemish. So that was 7 and 8. And like I said, I'm using really low quality yarn. I'm trying to get rid of it. So we're at 9, 10, and I don't have enough tension going on my hands. So I'm wrapping again. This will be 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 is back through, 17, 18, 19, and 20 is back through this one. And this is our last set. 21, 22, 23, and then back through the same one for 24. Should have us 24 stitches all around. And we've done 4 rows. The next 5 rows, so rows 5 through 9, That's right, fun. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Rows 5 through 9 are just going to be single crochets. So 24 single crochets all around. This is a really great place to use a stitch marker if you want to. I don't use them on smaller projects very much anymore unless I'm watching TV and I'm a little distracted. But I'm probably going to be counting them out for you guys. So rows 5 through 9, 24 around. It's going to take us a little moment. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. That's row 5 that we are done with. Oops. Here we go. Row 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Okie doke. Row 6 is done. I'm just going to give my hand a little wiggle. I do this to avoid cramping up and making myself too sore. And then I redo my tension. And we go for row number 7, which starts with 1. Oops, okay, that's fine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, oh, the dog, 23, and 24. Okay. Got 2 more of those to go. Let's just count to 48 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, my mom. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. And last row, row 9. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. 36. 37. 38. 39. 40. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46. 47 and 48. Okay, this is where the pattern starts to get just a little bit tricky. For this last row, this row is going to be the last row we're doing in our outside color. This row begins by a single crochet, but going through the outer loop only. Instead of going like this, like we normally go, we're just going to do this outer loop. Okay? So we do a single crochet, and then here's where it gets a little weird. We're going to chain 3 from here. Chains are just like this. So grab that, pull it under. That's 1 chain. 2, 3. There's your 3 chains. Then we're going to go back down into the chain with 2 single crochets. You skip this first part of the chain. You always do that when you're working through a chain. You skip this first hole, because if you were to go back through, you just lose this. So into the second chain from the right, you go through, you grab, and you do your single crochet. Then we're going into the second chain. You do your single crochet. Okay? Now, this was the single crochet that we did on the outer loop only. We're going to go to the next one over, outer loop only, and do a single crochet again. So that's going to be, we've used 2 of the 24 single crochets in this row. And once you do that, I pull it kind of tight, you have your little fin. See? Okay, then you're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do some more weird stuff. Outer loop only, single crochet. Okay. We're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do the same thing and go back down into these 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And here's where it gets particularly weird. We're going to go back through this outer loop only, but we're also going to go through this one. What we're going to do is called a decrease stitch, but we're only going to do the decrease stitch on the outer loops. So it's not actually going to decrease our row, because when we go back through, we're going to use both of the back loops. But this is, this just looked the best when I tested it. So you go through here, and this is not an invisible, or no, this is going to be an invisible decrease stitch. An invisible decrease stitch is like this. Go through, and before you grab your yarn, you go through the next one. And I like to use my hook like this, to grab it. Okay? We can do an invisible decrease here because it only uses the outer loops. And then you pull it through both of those loops and you finish off. From here, we're going to do 3 chains again. Super weird, I know. 1, 2, 3. And you're going to go back down just like we did before. We're going to do a single crochet and then into the second or the third one and do a single crochet again. From here, it's a little bit tricky. You're going to want to find the outer loop that you went into before. So that's this right here. Don't move on to the next one because you'll skip a stitch and you'll lose it. We're doing a single crochet through the outer loop of the one we already did. So single crochet, and that's just to even things out. And it creates this adorable little whale tail. Okay, so now we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 single crochets, regular single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to do outer loops only again. We're going to do just like we did this one, okay? So outer loop only, a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. From the second chain from the right, you go back through and do a single crochet. 1, and then you do it again in this one. 2, and then outer loop only, single crochet on that next outer loop. Alright, and that is all the fin structure that we have. See, you got your goofy little fins, your little tail. Then we're going to do single crochets all the way over to that other fin. It should be 10 if you did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, before you finish with this number 10, we are going to change yarn colors because we're going to do the underneath part next. So, to do a smooth transition of a yarn change color, on this last one, you go through and grab your yarn like usual, but instead of grabbing this yarn and pulling through, you grab your other color. I'm just going to switch them real quick. And you pull your other color through instead. It feels really loose, but you can tighten it up. So pull it through like that, and then you're going to be using that. So at this point, I like to tie off my new yarn to my old yarn. So let's grab our scissors. Since we are done with the purple yarn, now we're going to tie these together. Try not to tie them too tight because it can mess things up just a little bit by making colors pop through that we don't want to pop through, like the white popping through the purple. But you do want to secure it. And then these are going to be inside. You don't need to worry about them. You don't need to worry about this guy either because we're just going to stuff them inside when we do the stuffing. Okay. Now that we have our new yarn color, this is what I consider to be the most difficult part. Remember how we went through the outer loop only on these fins? Well, in the back, you should see 2 loops right here, 1 and 2, that you should be able to go through with this white yarn. So this is going to be 1 right here. So a single crochet, and again right here, single crochet. Because we are decreasing this row, we are going to do decrease stitches next. So it's going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease stitch, so that you should have 18 stitches all around. We are not doing an invisible decrease on this part because we want to go through the back loops only on this whole row, okay? So like we were doing the front lip before, instead we're going to be doing, and you want to go from this direction, okay? Down through the V and grab that one. We're going to do a decrease stitch. Now a regular decrease stitch is done like so. Follow along. Wait, yeah, that's good. Wait a second. No, I grabbed too much. There we go. Okay. So with a decrease stitch, a regular decrease stitch, you go through your first loop and you pull through. And then you go through your second loop before you do anything else. And you pull through the yarn again. Okay? Then you pull through these two loops, not this one. So you grab your yarn over and you pull through these two, and then you finish off. And that is a decrease stitch, a regular decrease stitch through the back loops only. We want to leave these front loops because it makes a cute little line. Okay, single crochet 2 times again. Back loops only, remember, okay? 1, 2, so down through the V, back loops only. All right, now we're going to have to do a decrease stitch because we did our 2 on the tail part. You should see 1, 2. These 2 loops right here are what we're going through. So through that loop, grab, and then through the second loop to decrease. Grab. Yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, and then pull through the 2 loops. Decrease stitch. Okay? We have 4 stitches here, so 1, 2, 3. This one goes to that, so right here is where it is. Back loop only, single crochet. 1, and then single crochet, 2, and then decrease stitch, okay? And normally, you don't want to pull your stitches tight with amigurumi. You should be controlling all of your tension with your offhand, however. I tend to pull my stitches tight when I am doing decrease stitches. So, I'm going to do my decrease stitch through, oops, almost went through that back one, and through. And then I pull it tight, because with decrease stitches, it's harder to get the right tension to make them look good. So, alright, so here's our 2 in the back. We're going to do a single crochet in each one of these. 1. And I pull these, pretty much everything on this kind of row I tend to pull a little bit tight just because decreasing is hard for me personally. Okay. It's hard to tell which of these we're going through next, but it's this one, not this one. You should have 1, 2, 3, and then we're going through this one. So remember, back loop only. Oops. This is going to be a decrease stitch because we just did 2 single crochets. So 1, and through the second loop, decrease. 1, 2. Okay. Single crochet, back loops only, single crochet, and 1, 2, decrease, and one more time, 1, 2, and decrease stitch. And that should get us back to where we want to be. Okay, this is going to be another decreasing row. It's going to be single crochet and then a decrease, but we are no longer going to be doing the regular decrease stitch. We're going to be doing an invisible decrease, which is done a little differently. I'll show you. So we did an invisible decrease stitch when we did the tail part, but I'll show you again. So 1, and an invisible decrease always goes through the front loops only. From this side, you don't go down this side. You go from bottom to top And frequently it's easier to use this part of your hook like this. And you don't grab yet. In an invisible decrease, you go through both of the loops you're trying to decrease before you grab anything. Then you yarn over and pull through the 2 loops, not through the back loop. And then you pull through, you yarn over and pull through both. And that is a decrease stitch. So single. And the thing about decrease stitches that's difficult is sometimes it's kind of hard to see where the next stitch is, and it's really easy to mess up and lose stitches. And even though that's not ideal, I'm going to be honest, you can drop stitches in Amigurumi and everything still looks really cute. Alright, decrease stitch. Oh, my hair is getting in the way, sorry. Okay. Single crochet. And, oh, let's stop here and do the face. I've got a little carried away. We don't want to close it much more than this or we won't be able to get the eyes in. So we grab 2 8mm eyes. We're going to be putting them in the second row. So 1, 2, like the second row from up. And I like to do them just a little bit in front of the fins. So right about here. So 1, 2, right in front of the fin. Stick it through. Oh, this one has a little deformity. See that? Ugh. There we go. Okay. Same thing on this side. 1, 2, right about here. And then you kind of want to, before you put these on permanently, look at the way his face looks from the front. That good? It's pretty good. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put on the backs. Don't mind the dog hair. There we go. You want to make sure you hear it snap. Okay. Snap that on there. Okay, cute. Now we're going to add the blush really quickly. I'm going to be using pink for blush. I know. It's very avant-garde. I like to take a strand that is extra long because I do a double blush. Because I find that if I only use a single strand for the blush, sometimes it gets sunken and you can't see it as well. But you don't want to just cut 2 strands because it's harder to go through. So grab your darning needle. And go through, and with this longer strand, have it go through halfway like this because we're going to leave it like this and cut it that way. So I do the blush right about like, I think it looks better when it's a little behind the face. Sometimes I do it right under the eye. It kind of depends. The funny thing about Amigurumi is it's really hard to be exact all the time. So sometimes you change things a little bit based on how it looks. See, I don't like that because it looks like it's going into the fin, even though I've done that exact thing on some of them. So I'm going to pull it through and redo it. We're going to go through this part. We're going to do it right under the eye for this guy instead. And it can be really hard to do things evenly because of the way that crochet is. The holes for the yarn aren't going to be exactly the same on this side. Okay, what I do is I pull this down and then I cut so that I can get the, where the heck are my scissors? There they are. these two together. Well, these four. I like to try and do a double knot because that makes it secure. 2. There we go. And that's just going to be tucked back in there. Alright, same thing on the other side. Grab your darning needle. Sorry, I just smacked my light. My foot is really falling asleep. Okay. And we're going to try to make it as even as we can. This is just a little bit to the side of the front here. So right about here. And sometimes you will end up going through the yarn and not where a hole is because you want to try and make things even. That's one of the frustrating things about amigurumi, is making things look symmetrical. There we go. Sometimes having a sharper needle helps with that. We're going to go through right there to try and match. That is pretty close. That's closer than I've done before. Okay. And then tie this one off as well. And it gets pretty messy inside there. It can be a little overwhelming to work with. So if you want to trim things, you can. I don't tend to because I don't really see a need. I just stuff it back in. Okay. There's the face. Sorry, I almost skipped that. Alright. There we go. I just did a... I can't tell, so I'm going to undo it. I think I just did a single crochet. Correct, I did. So single crochet. And before we get too much further, and then decrease stitch, we're going to want to put some stuffing in. But I generally wait until the last moment to put stuffing in because I hate trying to crochet while a thing is stuffed. I find it difficult. Alright, that was, I think, oh, I'm having a little trouble telling. There. That's the problem with decrease stitches. Sometimes it's really hard to tell where the next stitch is. And this gets a little dicey in here. Using the back part of the crochet hook sometimes is a blessing. Alright, we should be at 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, we are not even close to 12. So 1 and a decrease stitch. And hey, it is very possible that I have messed this up. I've hardcore messed this up. But it still looks really good, even when you miss a stitch or you do too many stitches. That's one of the fun things about amigurumi, is even if you're not great at it, they usually turn out really cute. Okay. We are going to be on our final row now. Let's go ahead and stuff it. And I will pull this out so that it doesn't get loose while I'm doing this part. This guy takes a little bit more stuffing than you think he's going to. And I use the back of the crochet hook to help push it in. And if you want, you can stuff it earlier than I do to make it easier, but like I said, I wait till the last minute. So look how much stuffing he took. He still needs more. I'm going to do just a little bit more. You can make them harder or softer depending on what you like. But this guy's shape is really aided by having a little extra stuffing in him. It helps make him round and whale-like. Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god, he's so cute. Okay, final row. We're almost done. final row is just 6 decrease stitches. On the final one, we're going to do like a slip decrease stitch. I'll show you what that means. So, oh right, we're doing an invisible decrease stitch. 1. And this part can get really hard on your hands, and it's okay to go slow and be frustrated. I don't like decrease stitches. They are one of the hardest parts for me because they require more pressure frequently, especially because I tend to tighten them. That's part of why they're difficult. But I feel like if I don't tighten them, these holes get really large. So we're on 3, and then 4. And then 5. This one's tough. There we go. And this last one, for this I like to go do my decrease stitch, but instead of doing the second pull through, so you know how you pull through these and then you loop again and pull through, I'm actually just going to pull this guy through this last one, and that turns it into a slip stitch and makes it tight and ties it off. So go ahead and cut, leave yourself just a little bit of a tail for sewing in. And then pull your yarn out like that, and then pull it tight. And that's going to kind of finish it off. And then we're just going to use the needle to finish this in a nice way. Oops. There we go. Okay, I generally just put my needle through the top loops of these to sew this shut. Just pull it tight and kind of just go where it looks like it could look better. Sometimes I even use this step to go places where the holes are a little more evident and kind of put my yarn there to make them look less evident. And you just kind of want to do it a couple times. Get that yarn going back and forth a lot of ways, and it will stay in there. Okay. Cut it like that. Shape him a little bit. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. His little whale tail, his tiny little flippers. He's done. Super simple, and no sewing is like A+ for everybody. So, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you'll try making this, because I swear to God, amigurumi is one of the most fun things I've ever done. It is so satisfying to have an adorable thing for not very much effort, and honestly, for doing something that's kind of super fun. So, I hope you'll give it a try. Have a good one, guys.